and just hang out.
Yeah. So Sven, speaking of videos, man, you post some pretty cool stuff out there. Where do you draw your inspiration, man, for your videos?
Which videos are we talking? Are we talking
Just
about dumb TikToks or fly tying?
yeah, the TikToks, the stories you put on Instagram and stuff like that.
Fly tying, I'm curious about.
Fly tying, you're curious about. So most of my story, my videos, that's just me. What it is, oh shoot, 4 or 5 years ago, part of me wanted to keep like, Instagram, social media kind of, my personal page is very like, hey, here's my kids, here's my family. And then when I created Svend Diesel to be primarily just my fly tying journey, I realized really fast that I couldn't really fake who I was. It just had to be me. And so all these videos of these ideas, I have a list of ideas for dumb videos that I think are hilarious, but trying to cash in brownie points with my wife to film them because she hates doing that. Like if I had somebody here that enjoyed making dumb, funny videos as much as I do and had time, we'd have hundreds of videos.
Can you 3D print somebody? 3D print that person.
It's one of those things that like I have these visions. I just drive around for work all the time and I'm always just thinking fishing. And I think, I draw a lot of inspiration from just like videos I see and it gives me an idea. I think a lot of the funny videos came from when I got on TikTok. It was, back then it was a lot of stupid high school, I shouldn't say stupid high school people, but younger generation doing all these dances. And I didn't think that was funny. What drew me into TikTok was this video that I found hilarious where a dude or a woman or whatever was pouring a glass of Coca-Cola into a cup, and the mom or the parent or an adult was in the background, and it just kept spilling over, and watching the reaction from the person behind. And it was a trend, and it was so funny. Like, I loved watching these, and my wife says if I ever have to see another one, because I always be like, hey, check this one out. This one's hilarious. Because I always liked watching, is it fake? Is it real? Is the person in the background acting? Or is it like, usually when the parent hit the kid with like their shoe or slapped him in the back of the head, I figured it was real. And so that's kind of when that evolved, and I started seeing all these new trends. And the thought I had was, how could I take this trend and apply it to fly tying or fly fishing? And like one of the first TikToks I did for fly tying was this like Alakazam, what's that movie, Cinderella, where it's the Alakazam where they're getting ready.
I remember that TikTok.
Yeah. And so what it was all these girls, high school girls, and some guys getting ready for prom, and it showed them like a before and then an after. And then all of a sudden the idea came to me, what if I'm sitting there with like materials and then did this, and then there was a fly, and I was like, okay, I got to do that. And it took me like 30 tries to get it to, look somewhat crappy. And then, after those 30 tries, I kind of figured out how to do transitions, and then that was a downhill spiral. And so I think a lot of the inspiration just comes from stuff I see. As for fly tying, there's on Instagram, you can search by hashtag. I don't know. I'm assuming that's common knowledge, but you can search by hashtag. And because ever since Instagram went away from chronological order, I hate it.
Yes.
But if you go and you search fly tying, and then instead of doing popular or whatever, you click on recent, you're actually able to see people that have just posted these flies, and it's not the most popular. It's not these businesses. It's some guy somewhere in the world posting a fly that he tied. And I don't necessarily go and follow them or like them, but I enjoy scrolling that. And if I like it, I'll double tap it, and sometimes if it draws me in, I'll actually go to their page and check out everything else they do. And most of the people I follow, I found that way. And it's, scrolling through there gives you quite a bit of inspiration, but also just fishing the flies you tie. It's like, you tie it, you water test it, you fish it, and then you modify it. Or, the community is so great. Like if I'm design or working on a fly for smallmouth, I've got 10 guys I can message and say, hey, here's my idea. here's what I'm doing. What have you tried this? What worked? What didn't work? Oh, we added this, tail on the end with an articulated shank, or it's just a great community. And that's where I think the communication, treating it as a forum, has really, really helped me. And that's kind of how I use my social media.
Okay, and you've been extremely successful with it. I mean, I remember me and Ryan were talking about this to the guys here. Shit, I remember following you, like, I think right before you even started YouTube and all that, which has been like a hot minute.
I remember when you and Ryan were going live like 3 days a week or 4 days a week. And
yeah, those are the old
I'd always
days,
jump
man.
on. That was like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah,
or 5.
Yeah,
we got
it was
life.
And This whole being an adult thing sucks.
Yeah,
It does.
You guys need to sleep less. That's the thing. So
well, that's
you
the
gotta
problem.
go back
Getting
to
older,
doing
I
those
need more
lives for
sleep because
guys
I'm more
like me.
tired.
Exactly.
Either that or I need to invest in a coffee company or something.
There you go. Start a coffee company, Ryan.
Yeah.
Hey, there is that coffee company reaching out to all these influencers. What is it? Fly Anglers Coffee. There you go.
Right. Yeah.
There you go.
Reach out for a collaboration.
There you go, Ryan. See if that
We're
stuff
giving
works.
away free sample packs.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Look here, I'm old. I'm trying to stay awake. Awesome.
Funny.
So how long you been tying flies then, man? Have you always kind of been streamer tying, or did you start out tying nymphs and stuff like most of us, or what's that story look like?
Let's see. So I've been tying now like 6 years. I got into tying because I got back into fly fishing and the flies kept falling apart. And I said, screw this, I can do this better. Turns out I can't. Mine still fall apart. But back then, I was fishing a local river 6 days a week. So I was tying nymphs and dries, and that's pretty much it. I had tried streamer fishing at that time, and it didn't really go very well for me. Particularly because I found out later that where I was fishing, there weren't really deep pockets, and the time of year they were feeding differently. I learned a lot. I mean, sure, you can get one on occasion, but they were definitely going after hatch, and you can always use a zebra midge or some sort of pheasant tail at this particular river. But then I just kind of, I think it was about that same time I started YouTube. I made a goal to tie a different fly every day for a year. Just a personal goal.
Cool.
And I found that it was, some nights I had to go down at 1 a.m. after I finished work and just tie a simple fly. I was always, searching the web, searching people's feeds. If I saw one, I would try and tie that fly, and I would sit there and tie it until I liked it.
Yep.
And at that time, I got into streamers, and then I switched from fishing rivers and, matching the hatch to fishing still water, where streamers,
they're amazing.
I mean, you can still fish. Yeah. I mean, still water is a streamer game, and the way I do it is definitely effective. So that's where I kind of got into the streamer game, and I've just kind of stayed with it because the rivers are crowded, lakes are not.
Where do you live, Eric? Where's home for you?
Utah.
Okay.
And I run in the same thing. Everybody says I fish the retirement ponds, but it's so much easier on the Stillwater chasing, like you said, because I can grab a pontoon and I can go out there, and I have multiple 13-acre ponds or lakes that I'm at, and be all by myself, and I'm slaying these fat girls out of this water with these big streamers, and it's just like it's so much cool. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to go down and hit the river. I love river fishing, but it's just like it gets so crowded sometimes that it's just like I just want to go out and enjoy myself and not have to dodge people and get hooked in the face by somebody.
It's amazing when you go to the lakes how many people won't walk further than 100 yards as well. So if you just hike a quarter mile, you don't see a person the rest of the day besides boats going by.
Yep.
But I do a lot of shoreline fishing. The float tube is not as convenient, so I do quite a bit of shoreline fishing at a couple different reservoirs. So I pass all the people on the river and head straight to the lake.
I've seen you fish off some interesting things before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was into paddleboard fly fishing for 2-3 summers. I've fallen off of cliffs. you know, it's all about just getting in the right place. And sometimes that's not. I'm usually in flip flops climbing these. Like I remember fishing with this guy in Wyoming, and he's like, "You're really gonna go down this canyon in flip flops?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." I ended up breaking a rod because I used it to break my fall. But
Oh, no.
yeah, flip flops because you never know if you're gonna go in the water or not.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be prepared to go into your knees or waist or.
Heck yeah, I'm the same way. And it's just like most of the time I'm wearing them flip flops. They're just makes life easier.
It's amazing how far and how like you know when I'm on vacation, people always look at me funny when we're on these like hiking trails and I'm in flip flops and got a kid on my shoulders and they're in like their LL Bean head to toe catalog.
Yeah.
They got their trekking sticks and here I am like dragging along 2-3 kids with water bottles in hand.
Yep. Hashtag dad
And like
life.
looking at the storm coming, I'm like, hey, we're good.
Yeah. Just stay out of the
So-
ravines, kids. We'll be all right.
Yeah. Dude, so
But,
I've always been
oh, no, go
I've always
ahead.
been curious about your you did one particular float out on the lake and you had a smoker on the back of your deal. What's the story behind that one?
So the story behind that was I had an idea of putting a smoker on a paddleboard and getting a photo out in the middle of a lake. And so I hauled my wife up. We took our 500 millimeter lens and I stationed her and I said, I'm going to be out there. All you got to do is hold it down halfway and click the image, And so I went out there with the smoker, took a battery with an inverter. And to add to it, I go, I'm just going to act like I'm fishing, like, just to get a photo. This was just a stupid idea. I thought it'd be funny. And turns out I cast it out and all of a sudden next thing I knew I had a fish on, a little trout. And so the smoker was going and I didn't actually smoke the fish, but I was into it. I was out there about 10 minutes and then all of a sudden Fish and Game pulled up because a road runs right alongside the river or the lake I was on. You can't access the water from there, but he stopped, comes out, yells some 4-letter words included in a sentence, basically, what the heck was I doing? And I go, I'm fishing. And he goes, is that a smoker? And I go, yeah. And he goes, are you smoking trout? And I said, well, not yet. And he goes, are you kidding me? You got a smoker out there on that thing? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, how's the fishing? I said, actually, it's been pretty good. And he's like, all right. And looking back, I'm like, he didn't act like I've got a lead acid battery sitting right there on a Forest Service lake, which I found out I think is illegal.
Sure, yeah.
And he didn't ask me if I was over my limit or anything. He just thought it was the stupidest thing ever. And then when I posted that, it kind of was fun. That was just sharing some of my humor, the ideas I have with other people. I thought it was pretty funny. Turns out that actually went up somebody sent me the email that the vice president or someone of Traeger saw it. Thought it was funny. So
That's
That's
awesome.
cool.
yeah, that was a stupid idea that I still get asked about.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted me to recreate that this year, and I was like, I don't have time for that.
Brian will do it.
You bringing the Christmas
we
lights
actually-
again this year?
Which Christmas lights?
Your crazy tree that you have?
Oh, dude, that tree we just set it up. I love that tree.
Yeah. I want to get the 9
Those
footer.
trees. Yeah, they're cool, but they're way too expensive. I haven't ever seen them on sale like we saw that year.
See, that's the reason why I haven't gone.
Yeah, they're like because I keep getting asked all the time on YouTube. They're like 500 to 900.
Yeah, the one I'm looking
And
for is
so-
like 875, I think, right now.
So yeah, Black Friday is when I picked mine up, and then that video did so well. The company sent me another tree, and then they're an Italian company. I reached out to them this week because they have a bunch of lawsuits from people stealing my videos and using them. And so anytime I see something, I always send it to them, and they're very appreciative. So I reached out to them because now they have an outdoor tree. And I was like, hey, I've done all these things for you guys. What do you guys want to do something on an outdoor tree? Like maybe just like a discount or send it to. No, I didn't say that, but I just said, I can't find this tree anywhere in the US. So I was like, hey, how can I order this tree? And then they're trying to get back to me because I guess it's unavailable. It's on a ship somewhere in the ocean.
Yeah,
LA Harbor.
sitting in
Everything
some
else.
canal sideways.
Well, they have a 15-footer, but for me, I don't have the space in my front yard for a 15-foot
Dude, that would
huge
be,
tree. But
that'd be epic.
for those guys that don't know, this is a tree where you can basically like draw on it the light color, or they've got patterns. It detects the lights where they are on the tree, so you can map it out, make it look like a flag or diagonals. It's pretty cool.
It's epic. As soon as I seen you post that, even my wife was like, I want one. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to get another job if you want one of these.
Well, that's why they call me a boomer, man. I'm still just like, this is so amazing. Like,
You're right.
it is like amazing, the technology behind that. Like, whoever thought I would have been able to hold a cell phone and identify lights on my tree through their own app, and then my kids will draw on it and make it all sorts of colors. Did you ever hear the story behind that, though?
No.
So we moved, and when we moved, we lived in our last house for 10 years, and it was November when we moved. And so we were going to get set up for Christmas, and I got the old tree, and I'm like, hey, and then I'm like, you know what, new house, let's go down and look at a new tree. There's probably something on Black Friday sales, let's go check it out. And so we went down to Home Depot and took the whole family, and I thought I'd make it like a family thing. So I said, okay, everybody pick out their favorite tree. And I told my wife, I'm not getting a flock tree. Like, I know you love them. That's off the table. And so I told my kids, no flock trees. I don't like that white. I want a green tree, white lights, twinkly lights, been preferred. So they run around, and he was 5 at the time. He's the best kid ever. Never had a fit. Easiest kid. He goes, Dad, I found a tree. And we go over, and he shows me the box. It's not set up. And I go, okay. And I looked at it, and it's a rainbow. It was a rainbow color. And so I assumed it was a flocked tree in the colors of a rainbow.
Yeah.
Because it was so bright. And I go, hey, that's great, but I really just want a green tree in our house. Like, it's a really cool tree, like, good job, but like, let's look somewhere. He's like, he threw this meltdown fit, starts like screaming like it's like a YouTube video. To the point that people are looking, and he's like, I want this tree. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, he's never done this. So Home Depot worker comes over. Is everything okay, sir? And I'm like, yeah, my kid just really wants this tree, and I just would like a green tree with white lights. Like, that's my preference. I go, this is great, but I support that, but I just would rather have a green tree, white twinkly lights. That's what I want. He goes, no, actually, let me show you this tree. And he showed me a video, and I go, hey, it's actually about the same price as all the other trees. I go, what do you think? And so we took it home, because he's like, oh, you can always return it. But it was just funny that he picked that out, and it's been the coolest thing ever. And it's something we've enjoyed now for, let's see, it was 3 years ago. So
Heck
it's
yeah.
it has a story behind it, and an embarrassing moment in my life where I was trying to control a kid.
Gotta love dad life.
But it's actually been a very popular tree for YouTube and TikTok. A lot of people like it, and a lot of people called me a boomer. So I don't care.
That's funny.
Now I don't feel so bad. We're in the same boat.
It's amazing. I'm just waiting for that vice that ties flies for us.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
What are we gonna do?
God, that'd be awesome.
Pick 'em.
That's my favorite comment I see on social media. Are these flies hand tied?
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that. I 3D printed those too.
Yeah.
Hey, I've 3D printed some bass lures.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've 3D printed. I tried doing popper heads, but that did not work out very well. Apparently, they don't float very well.
Oh.
Well, I wonder if you did the popper heads, if you did them hollow, and then shoot foam in them when you're done.
So I tried hollow, gluing them together, injecting foam, putting styrofoam, wrapping the shank in foam. And then I realized for the amount of time I had spent putting a foam popper head on was probably the better bet.
Now we all
But you
know
make-
why that they're foam.
Yeah, foam or deer hair.
Yeah.
Deer hair is for those artsy guys.
It's all fancy.
It's almost
fancy.
for simple guys that just want to fish them.
Yep.
Your Christmas
No, I'm just
time
kidding.
naturally deer here. They look good.
Dude, I tied up at a dungeon last night, man, and Gary or Dave, I'm actually sending you this fly. It was one of those blue and tan ones you like, and I got a little close with the curve of the scissor, and I trimmed off the entire collar. So it's just like a blue deer head, flat in material.
Yard
I guarantee it'll fish, but I was like, Dave will catch something on this.
Just call it a yard dart. You'll be all right.
The old yard dart.
I'll take your
Contrary to
reject
popular
screamers any
belief, the
day.
deer here does not grow back. It's just like a haircut. Once it's gone, it doesn't pop up back.
I think those are the most difficult flies and frustrating flies to tie. I think that's the only fly that I'll actually like razor it off until I like it.
Yep.
I just don't
Just
mess
'cause
with
you-
deer.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, I'll do bucktail and do some deceivers, but man, I suck when it comes to deer hair. I just cannot.
It's a
clip it.
learning curve, man. Like I didn't even learn it till a few years ago. Like truly, and I'm by no means like an expert at all. But like just learning that rap, you know, and once you start going around dumbbell eyes, the whole game changes. It's fun though. It's all fun.
So
So
your
Sven, man-
nickname's not Pat Cohen?
No, it's not my nickname. Nope. So how long you been? How did you get into fly fishing? Actually, let me
Yeah.
ask you that first.
For like originally, what like inspired you to fire it off?
Originally, let's see, it's 2021. When I was in college, so that was like 05. I was dating this girl that lived up north in North Utah, and I was down here, and her dad loved fly fishing. And so one time I went up there and he's like, I'm going to take you fly fishing. I said, oh, okay, cool. Whatever. You know, I'm just trying to impress him. I'm like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. Like, cool.
Yep.
Just don't leave me
And
up
we were
there.
fishing and he kind of like left me. And I was like, okay, but I still had that fly on and I just kept casting. And finally I caught this like little 6-inch brook trout. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I have the photo of me from a distance holding that fish up, you know, as in these cheap neoprene waders, freezing. It was a great experience. And after that, I didn't think any more of it, except for a few months later, we had broken up and I was walking through Costco and one of the aisles had a fly rod with a reel and line for like $60 and a pair of waders for like $70. I was like, $130. Okay. Yeah, I'll try that out. And went up. They had like some sample flies, fished the Provo for like 5 days, didn't catch a single fish. And I'm like, this sucks. So then I went up to Cabela's and I didn't know this at the time, but you know, Lance Egan was the manager there. And I'm talking to Lance Egan and he's like, here's what you need for where you're fishing. And I go, no. I was talking to a guy and he said that I need this. And he's like, no. Trust me, like this will work on the Provo. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I didn't know this was Lance at the time. And, you know, looking back, I'm like, he probably was just like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
And,
You talk to him now?
yeah, he's a great dad. He's probably one of the guys I respect the most. He's awesome. So then I went and fished the Provo. And from there, I fished it all summer. And then I happened to drive up one morning. I had 2 hours and I fished the whole 2 hours. This new section I never tried. And it was really, really good. Had a blast, stayed longer than I needed to. So I had to rush back, but I had hiked a mile up these railroad tracks. Well, I parked and hiked a mile down to the railroad tracks. So I'm sitting there thinking in my head, straight up this cliff is like where my truck is. And I go, I bet you it's right there. And I'm looking and it's a rock slide. And I go, I bet you I can get up that.
Oh, I've done
And I'm
that.
in felt boots and I got my
not-
rod and a
not
sling
flip-flops?
pack. No, I wasn't in flip flops. I was out in the river. But I started climbing up and it's just like I'm slipping and sliding and it is just a nightmare. And I'm just determined to go up it. And I get almost to the top where I can see the ledge of where I need to be. And there's a branch. And I go, I bet you if I can get to that branch, I can get up because I'll just, you know, manhandle myself up and over. And there was a rock and I reached up and at that same time, my feet gave out and I slipped and I got 45 stitches because the rock sliced me open.
Holy cow.
And so it sliced me open as I fell. And then I tumbled down this ravine, probably 30, 40 feet, landed on the railroad tracks. And I had a bandana at the time. So I ripped that off, wrapped my finger in my hand. And then I said, I'm going back up. And so I hiked back up. And I got up and then drove to my parents' house because I didn't know how bad it was.
Yeah.
I knew it was bad, but I'm going to go ask my dad if I need to go to the hospital. And so I drive by. I'm like, hey, Dad, what do you think? And he's like, you're an idiot. Get to the ER. and he's like, I'm like, oh, okay. So I went and got back in. He's like, no, we're driving you to the ER. I go, no, I'm fine. And so then they drove me to the ER and ended up getting all those stitches. But long story short, I didn't fly fish for the rest of that summer. And then I just never picked it up again. So then it was about 5-6 years ago, my wife, she goes, my cousin started an online fly shop and he's selling like rods and reels. Can I get you that for Christmas? I said, yeah, cool. But only if he takes me out. Like I want to go with him because he's a real fishy guy. Fish Hunter Chronicles.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Is his handle. And so he agreed. He took me carping and I was just like, we fished all day. And he's catching carp every like 5-10 minutes. And I was like, what the fuck? And finally, as the sun was setting and it was that dusk hour, I finally hooked into one in the mouth and got it in. And I was just like stoked.
Nice.
Heck
And that's what got me back into it.
It only takes one.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was, and so I fished quite a bit with him and he got me, he said I casted like his wife and stuff like that. He said last time I'm a little bit better than I was when I first started, but still room for improvement. He's super, super like one of those awesome people to teach you.
Nice.
So,
That's awesome.
To it, though. Like,
yeah, that's what got me back into it. That's the story of my history in the fly fishing. Fly tying was just because I got frustrated after that first year back into it.
And that's kind of what fired me off into it too. It's just like getting all those. You buy all this, you spend all this freaking money, and these flies last like 2 fish, and you're like, what the hell? And it's like, man, it should last at least longer than this.
Yeah.
And stuff. So with that, I
remember-
mean, me and Ryan have been, like I said, been following you freaking forever. And it seems like you're.
We were in it in the beginning, right? Like that was sick. I remember we were all like.
We initiated, and just to give Dave and these guys a period, we were all following each other and pushing out, and really started kicking it off when Instagram kicked out their Instagram lives.
Yeah.
We initiated. I think we were some of the first fly tires to push out on Instagram.
You guys were always live. Like anytime I got on the app, you were live.
Yeah.
It seemed.
God, we lived on Instagram. But the biggest thing in Instagram that kind of pushed me away from their lives is I can't play the music in their background.
Yeah.
Everybody's so
that was
tied
like
up.
the turning point, man.
Yeah.
Because we would jam out,
boots you off too.
Yeah.
It was like you got like one little warning, you miss it, you're done. You're out.
And so
I don't want to bribe you guys, but TikTok lets you have any music you want on your lives.
So I've been following you on TikTok for a hot minute. I am on there. I'm getting back on now. Another route, I'd love to have you on too, because we do like an after-hour show. Is I do Twitch, and stuff, and so I do woodworking, I do freaking fly tying and everything on there. I'd love to have you on there because one, we can listen to any music we want and nobody cares, and two, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
I've never gotten on the Twitch.
It's interesting because
Twitch.
A lot of people look at it like gaming side, but there's actually a really huge side of it that's woodworking, and there's even a decent size of fly fishing on that side, which I'm really impressed with.
Yeah, we've dabbled in it. It's cool.
I really like you, but I don't think I'll get on your OnlyFans.
Hey, I'll give you a discount though.
How much of a discount?
Don't do it. That ain't worth it.
We'll start off with 10% and go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
it was enjoyable. We did a couple ties on Twitch with Rob, and that was pretty cool. It's a different aspect. It's a different platform. It takes a little bit of a learning curve, but I enjoyed it. It was cool.
Yeah, because I miss Instagram, and I love having the Instagram lives because you have the instant communication right there. You're able to respond, and Twitch is the same way, which is really nice. But I miss being out there. I miss it. It's kind of I was kind of reminiscing and thinking about like all the times we did. We lived on Instagram from like 5 o'clock to like midnight most of the time.
Yeah.
Just
I don't know
freaking-
what I really do.
What do
not
we
know
do
what
with our
changed.
lives?
Yeah, it's like, what do I do with all this time I used to have, and now I don't have it? Like, where'd it go? You know?
Yeah, this whole being responsible sucks.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So with all these fish that you're chasing, bud, what's been like the most memorable fish that you've snagged up? I know you've been on the water quite a bit. You've chased some amazing stuff.
I already know this answer because it's what I won. I don't know if you guys are talking to or you knew this about me, but we're the what's that name? Oh, I can't remember what it's called now. It's gonna drop a.
Oh,
It's the Carp Classic. What is it called?
Oh,
My! It's they're out of Montana.
Yep. I know you're talking. I can't think of it either. Damn it.
Because I want to say Dave Allison because he just moved to Montana, but it's not. It's anyway. So I'm the 3-year reigning champ because they've canceled it the last 2 years because of COVID. So I told them I want my name on there 3 years, not just 1 year.
Yep.
And they
3-year
still won't
reigning
tell me which bar that plaque hangs up in Montana. But this was probably, I've got a lot of memorable fish, but this was a carping one that this was the fish that won the tournament for us. Because that tournament is a 2-day best fish of the day. You can have a team of 3. It has to be a hook. It has to be a mouth hook. It can't be any snags. You can't use any motor boats. It can only be, oars or kick tubes or pontoons or whatever. But it was the second day and the conditions sucked. I mean, this was like most people didn't get a fish the second day. And we had some small ones up at this lake. Usually you're fishing for 15 to 20 pound average carp. We had like 8-9 pounders. And so we were like, there's no way we're going to win. And the 2 guys I was with, Fish Hunter Chronicles and one of his friends, they left to go try another area. And I'm like, I'm going to stick to this area. And all of a sudden the wind died down and it's like 3 o'clock and we had to be away in at 5. I see this carp getting chased by 3 males. And I go, that's a freaking big female. I go, how can I get the fly in front of it? And so I'm 25 feet away. I can't remember. And I put on this bright pink egg with a squirmy wormy, the Squirminator, because the water was murky. And I'm like, I gotta see this. And I did this like perfect cast right in front of it. It didn't spook. And I just strip, twitched. And then all of a sudden I saw the pink disappear. Hook set, got her in the mouth, and I was just like stoked. But then it was complete chaos in the shallow water. And I finally get her calmed down. It's really, really grassy and reeds. I didn't want her to get off. And so I was really kind of horsing her more than I'm used to. Finally got it ready. So she was turning. I get my net off and I stick it between my legs because it had the long pole. So it was on my shoulder and then it was resting in the water so I could hurry and get it and then just scoop it.
Yep.
And I'm ready to go. And so I'm dragging her in, I'm watching it, and I go to grab my net. And at that same time, a male came through my legs into my net and took off with my net.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what? Like, 1, my net's going, and 2, I got this fish on that I knew she was probably 20 plus pounds. And it's just I'm watching my net just swim away. And I'm like, there's no freaking way. So I'm tromping through this like knee to thigh deep water, trying to not lose this fish while trying to chase my net. Finally get my net. And I realized that was smaller than the one I had on. So I dump him out and then get her back. And as I'm got the net right between my legs again, I hadn't learned my lesson. I turned her over and she's coming head first right at me. I grab my net. And as I scoop my net down, right then another male jumps in the net with her.
Oh, wow.
And their back dorsal fins cut my net.
Oh, no.
Like literally shredded the net so that my net's like, it's still kind of pieced together on the front and the back. But I'm like, it literally, I didn't realize that their back fins were sharp enough to cut those nets. but I guess the weight of both of them in the net cut it. So this is probably not my best fish handling day. I'm not proud of it, but I grabbed her by the freaking gill and just freaking threw her onto the shore. And I was just so pissed because now I had a mile hike to the truck, and instead of lugging her in a net and giving her, breaths in the water, I had to haul a tote full of water that was kind of cracked. And so that was probably one of my most unique stories, and it actually ended when I got back to the truck to put her in the bigger water. She ended up laying eggs all over me too. So it was not a great day.
Yeah, what a day, man! That's crazy.
That's
I've never had that happen, and I bet you most people wouldn't believe me if it's one of those things that's just unreal that happened. But that's probably one of my most unique fishing stories.
That
is the most unique fishing story we've heard.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of stories, man, and that one's up there.
That's got it.
Like, I still can remember watching my net swim away because it's one of those metal rising ones with the long, shaft, and I'm just because it just hit it just right and was kicking it and just I don't think it'd be hard to beat one of these days maybe.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
But that's definitely one of the more memorable. And hey, we won the tournament. So
what did that fish weigh in at?
So when I weighed it on the shore, it was funny because I didn't realize this. She was 23.8 or 23.8 ounces. But by the time she weighed in, she was just under 20. So she spewed all her eggs, which I didn't realize they can have up to that amount of eggs in them.
That's a lot of eggs. Crazy.
Yeah, they can have, from what I read, between 2 and 5 pounds of eggs.
Wow.
You can get them to weigh them too. They came out of her.
Yeah.
That's
right.
This is part of that.
So I had them all over my waders. They're still a stain because I didn't know that you had to get them off immediately.
Yes.
And then also we had to throw away the container we transported her to the weigh-in because it was just full. But at the same time, what are you going to do? The inhumane thing and sew it shut or something? I don't know.
Yeah, we can't put duct tape around that one.
Yeah.
No, it was just because of how I landed it is what I think happened, or she was right in the middle. I don't know. But it was a fun. That's a great tournament. A lot of fun. David Boyd. That's what it is.
David
Carp Classic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's awesome, dude.
That is so fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So that was. I've never had them jump into my net, but it was twice in one landing.
Twice is crazy.
That's what you needed.
But they're such a powerful fish. They definitely swam away. Like that's not surprising that it could swim away with your net, but
that's what a lot
I
of
hope
people
that never
realize.
happens again.
Dude, that's what a lot of people realize. I want to start getting into the carp. I tried chasing them last year, but it was kind of rough. That man, they're just the fight that they have in them is crazy, and they're just a freight
It's
train.
unreal. Yeah, I think with COVID, I definitely couldn't get up to spots I usually carp because now it's like I only like to go to certain places, certain times of the year. And so I definitely have kind of made a transition now. Like in the beginning of fly fishing, I was like rivers for trout. And then it was paddle boarding up at high mountain lakes for, tiger trout, brook trout. And then I transitioned into carp with, trout fishing. And now I'd say I'm pretty much trout fishing in the spring and fall. But then the whole summer, I like to bass fish with the fly rod.
Oh,
Cool.
I love chasing bass with fly rod.
River or lakes for your bass?
It depends on where I'm at. Where I'm at locally, it's lakes, but there's a few rivers within driving distance that I hit up for river fishing, which is usually, I think, a little bit better of a smallie. Largemouth, I'm usually on lakes.
Yeah, I love chasing smallies. They're always so pissed off all the time.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and it's when you get it dialed in on colors and time of year, it's a lot of fun. And then the top water action in the evening is just. I don't think they explode. That's the thing I've always wondered. Do you guys think that a smallie or a largemouth will explode more on the top water?
Well, I've never caught a smallie on a top water. I've got plenty of largemouth.
Yeah, same.
I get more explosion out of largemouth than I do smallmouth. Smallmouth are like little mini sharks. They just come up and they're kind of like a trout.
Yeah, I guess that's.
I'm like their M80s. They just explode.
Well, after you hook
I guess
them,
it depends time of year too. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely times that I've seen where they're more aggressive than other, where they'll come out of the water a little bit more. But most of the time, they'll come up and they hit it so hard and it's so fast. It's like, oh crap, and you're trying to like set it and not break it at the same time. And so
Yeah.
Do you have any particular patterns that are working better than others that you want to share out?
yeah, tell us their secrets. All of them.
For what?
For
Everything.
smallmouth.
Everything.
I want to know all
Small
your
fish.
secrets.
Just for
So
fish.
for smallmouth, I take a little circle hook with a little power bait and grub, and
Yep. Rub it on there real nice.
rub it on there. I freeze it, and then I usually slingshot out some frozen minnows just to get them in the area.
Come up
Heck
the water
yeah.
a little bit. Yep.
So last year I pretty much fished balanced leeches exclusively for the whole year to see how I could land which fish at what time of year
That
and what
fly,
colors worked what time of year.
which is crazy because you got me into that fly, and it's just
Yeah,
like
it's-
watching you tie it. That thing is freaking dirty. That is
it's a good fly. I can't remember who Phil Rowley told me first came up with the balance. But a question I get asked quite a bit: why balance it versus a jig? And the only thing I can come up with is I usually have more hookup ratios for most of the year on a balance because you get a longer shank.
Yep.
Whereas a jig works sometimes, but not. My opinion is the balance is more effective, generally speaking, year round.
yeah.
And
the
I
nice
also
thing-
ice fish with them too. So
Oh heck yeah! I miss ice fishing, man. When I was in upstate
Yeah.
New York, I was always out there, and it's just like, and the nice thing about the balance is, you can I balance between my streamer rod and Euro rod, and I can still use the same fly and just throw it in a different feeding lane,
Mhm.
and it makes it so much nicer to be able to adjust and not, hey, this fly is working really effective. Hey, the sun's coming out. I need to drop depth or go somewhere else and do something else on it. I can just jump another rod, throw the same fly on there, and keep rolling.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good point.
but it's a good fly. You don't need a lot of colors. Change up the bead color, black, olive, sometimes white, sometimes burnt orange, sometimes wine, sometimes clear. I guess there are a lot of colors. Never mind.
Track that.
It's
But
like,
the thing I like about that balanced is the way I fish it, indicator style. I took someone this last year and showed them how I fish this certain lake, and they've had a lot of fun with it. But the first thing they asked me was, "Well, it's super windy." And I go, "Even better."
Even better. Yeah. Move it around.
So
a
I
little
go,
bit.
yeah, I go, that moves it for you. You don't even have to strip. You can be operating on 2 hours of sleep and just watch that indicator.
yep.
And so I call it the lazy man's fishing, but it's definitely something because I don't have the ability to dictate when I have 2 free hours. I take the conditions that exist and go and adapt to the conditions.
Yep.
So if it's super windy and stormy, I'm like, sweet, I'm still going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, hey, I've got 2 hours. I don't care if it's freaking a tornado coming through. I'm still going out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys finally
But-
get some snow down there when that storm?
Oh
went through?
yeah. Yeah, you must have missed my video of me supervising the neighborhood kids where we were jumping kids over a jump. So
I do
luckily
get-
my backyard has a little hill in it. And so we just set up a little toboggan sloped little track and then a big jump at the end, and no one's got injured yet. But we got about 6 to 10 inches depending on where you are, and it's stuck. It's been nice and cold. We're supposed to get 3 storms this week.
Cool.
We need it. The water's super low. Lakes that I fish I've never seen them this low.
Yeah.
I think we all need it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're running the same thing on our side. So
Yeah,
when are we gonna see a one wheel sponsorship?
That actually is done for me. The deal I made with my wife was the first time I broke my arm and tore up my shoulder and cracked 3 ribs. I said, "I'm not selling it," and she said, "You gotta sell it." And I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal. If I break another bone on it, I'll sell it." And she goes, "Okay, fine." And then I was racing my kids around the neighborhood on their dirt bikes, and my 7-year-old cut me off. So it was either take him out or bail. and I bailed, and I landed, and my neighbor said that it looked like it hurt, and I got up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I went and cleaned out all the gravel out of my arm, and by the time I got out of the shower, it had swollen up twice as big. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go to the ER, just see. You know, I'm like, I know it's not broken. I can feel it. And so I went, and the guy's like, he didn't had me do all these things and tests. And he goes, yeah, you're probably fine, but let's just wait till you're back on the x-rays and I'll just send you home. Well, an hour went by, and I'm sitting there looking through the window, and there's a computer, and I kept noticing like 6 or 7 doctors on it, like taking photos like with their phones and then texting it off. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm like, dude, somebody's jacked up in here. Like, I wonder what's like happening. I was thinking there's a car wreck. Yeah, I'm like, there's a car wreck, and so I'm just like the back burner. I'm like, oh. So I stand up and take my head out. I'm like, hey, did you guys forget about me? He's like, I'll be with you in just 1 second. So then
post these pictures real quick.
Yeah.
Instagram,
so then the specialist that was on call comes in, and he's like, well, we're not going to admit you. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean admit me? I'm fine. He's like, well, you got 5 broken ribs, 3 are displaced. 1 looks like it's going into your lung right now. And he goes, we're not so much concerned about puncturing your lung as we are that you're going to get pneumonia, because that's a common thing when you have the displaced.
Yep.
And he goes, are you sure you didn't take any medication before you came down? And I'm like, no, I'm just fine. He's like, because you should be in a lot of pain right now. I'm like, well, I'm fine. Like, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to prescribe you these drugs. I'm like, I'm fine. I don't want them. And he's like, no, you're going to have to see an orthopedic. And I go, well, what is he going to do? Is he going to operate? He goes, oh no, you're inoperable, because that's actually higher risk than operating.
Yep.
But he goes, you have a broken elbow again. And I'm like, what?
What?
And then he's like, we're going to put you in a cast. And I'm like, I don't need a cast. I'm fine. Went home. And then the next morning, my doctor called me. Yeah. The next morning, my doctor called me. He's like, dude, go back down, get a cast. He goes, I looked at your ribs and I'm worried, but I'm fine. I lived. So 2 days later, I sold my one wheel.
There you go.
And the guy was like, I'm sitting there trying not to act like I'm all busted up. I'm like, yeah, the one wheel's awesome, man. This thing's awesome. Which to this day, I still argue. Did I lose you?
Nope.
No, we're good.
Still got
you. To this day, that is probably one of the funnest things I've ever ridden as a snowboarder. Is the closest thing to snowboarding on asphalt, like
cool.
Dirt, asphalt. I think the issue I had was I'm 230, and they say that you got to be under like 250.
That's why I haven't got one yet.
Whereas most of the guys I know that ride them are in like the $150 to $180 range,
right?
And they've never had issues. So I'm wondering if it's because basically what happens, this is probably not related, but as you push down, there's an equilibrium so that you're not riding with it nose down. So it offsets it so you're level. Well, because I think I'm heavier, the pressure basically caused that sensor to kind of fail.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, but I miss it. But luckily with COVID, I sold it for more than I paid for it when I first bought it. So I actually came out ahead, less the medical bills.
Heck yeah.
So the one video I wanted to do that I never did was I wanted to tie a woolly bugger in hand while going around in circles on the one wheel.
I'm just
saying you sold it.
They have a remote
make
control skateboard.
Oh no.
Yes. So those things go faster.
Yeah, they're they go 35. I think 35, 40 miles an hour.
So I look at these guys on those or on the one wheels, and I'm like, dude, when I see them without helmets on, at least I had a helmet because my head hit. I always wear a helmet when I'm snowboarding, skiing, doing pretty much anything. And it scares me to death seeing all these kids just with like no protection on, flip-flops, and no helmet.
So if you're listening to this and you have a one wheel or remote skateboard, wear a helmet, wear knee pads, wear elbow pads, do the right thing.
Yeah.
As a firefighter for 20 years, I've seen the other side of people not wearing helmets. It's not pretty.
It's just funny when you go to the hospital. I'm like, I broke, I fell on my one wheel. They're like, what's that? And I go, oh, I wrecked on my longboard. They're like, huh, get in line. It's like such a common thing.
Get in line. Crazy.
But yeah, so no more one wheel for me. I see them and I dream about it, but I kind of lost trust in it, if that makes sense.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think it was the model I had. And I reached out to the company. I'm like, hey, can I send this in just to have you guys do a once over on it? And I get why they didn't respond because of liability. But at the same time, I would have just like, hey, yeah, send it in. We'll take a look at it, or for $200, we'll go through it and make sure everything's good.
It's a peace of mind. Yeah.
So for definitely.
But yeah, sold it. It's gone. Now I just got to stick to falling down ravines, fly fishing.
Need to get you a side-by-side.
Yeah, it's an adrenaline rush either way.
You always wear 2 or 3 bandanas when you go fishing, though, just in case you need to bandage yourself up.
Oh no, that's when I was in the Crip gang, so I've been blooded out. No, I don't wear bandanas. Like you always should have something, but
Good, huh? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been.
They do come in handy.
I have one. I carry a med kit with me, freaking first aid kit. Whether I'm burying freaking size 1 hooks into my shoulder or freaking whatever, you always never know when you're gonna need them.
So the question I have for you guys: when someone you're fishing with does get stuck with a hook, are you the guy that helps them get it out, or you get out the camera phone and film it?
I help.
The later one. I did it with Rob on a trip to Wyoming not too long ago.
I buried a size 1 freaking sparkle minnow into my left shoulder when we were in Wyoming, and I buried that thing all the way up to the bend. I mean, and I had to push.
Oh gosh!
I almost made Adam from It Set You Free pass out in the boat because I had to push it through. And I'm like, hey, hold my skin down so I can push it through the skin. And he's like,
he couldn't do it.
No, I don't want. So I had to like hold it here and like tighten my shoulder up and like anchor that sucker through my skin. No. And it doesn't pop in as easily as it pops out as you're trying to make it through.
Yeah, right. You never realize how it's like Stretch Armstrong when you get a streamer in your arm. Like Sven, I don't know if you remember Bo. He used to hop on with us when we'd tie in, and he buried ironically a sparkle minnow in his forearm. And I was like, well, it's just the 2 of us, man. So bite down on a stick or something. I'm ripping this thing out your arm. And I'm pulling it, dude, and his arm's like a foot out. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, man. And he's like, just do it. I'm ripping with pliers, man. It's just like elastic. And we finally got it out, dude, but it was...
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man. It was...
Yeah.
Makes me wheezy just thinking about it.
Mine had too much meat going in, and I couldn't pull it out. And we couldn't... It was a Arex hook, so it was having a hard time getting the freaking... all of it flattened out, so I had to push it through, and it's just luckily we had a pair of Gerbers on the boat, so I was like, we don't have Gerbers. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna push it through and we'll take care of it back on the shore. I'm not gonna stop fishing, we're gonna keep fishing. And so luckily one of the guys I was with in the boat had a pair of he found a pair of Gerbers somewhere, and so like, let's try to cut it. I'm like, well, let's do it.
Oh, man. Was it a clean cut at least, or did it rip a little on the way out?
Super clean cut. I mean, it just punched right through. Didn't leave a scar, which I was kind of surprised because, I mean, I ruined my brand new Sims freaking sun shirt, though. I was pissed. Yeah. So now it has a hole in it and blood stained on it.
Dude, what is it about those sun shirts, man? Like, I won't stick myself with the fly until I'm wearing one. Yeah. And then it just everywhere.
I think it's a tradition. It's like a magnet as it's flying across.
Exactly.
So it actually comes down to the material. It's got a poly yarn in it that actually acts as a friction modifier. So sometimes the hook, if you rub it in your box, it will actually cause a magnet attraction to your shirt.
Yep.
I'm just messing. I don't know. I'm just messing with it.
Hey,
sounded good though.
I'm down with it.
Yep. Make it till you make it.
Exactly.
So with you living in some prime water, with tourist area and all that stuff and all that, if you had one spot to go to, like, this is where I want to go, no money, no nothing is to worry about, what's your dream spot to eventually go to for freaking you kick the bucket?
Oh, there's a few things on there. part of me wants to go down to like the Amazon, go after like peacock bass, but I'm just too scared of like all the freaking shots you have to get to go down there and like what's in the water. So believe it or not, I have a fear of water where I can't see the bottom. So I hate being on a boat where I can't see land. I've done it, but I don't like it. But I wouldn't say a bucket list, but like I always want to go red fishing down in Louisiana. I'd like to go for some bull trout up in Canada somewhere. I'd like to go after brown trout on Iceland. I got some friends in Denmark, family that, I want to go for some sea run browns or, one of these days. All of these are achievable with planning and time, depending on how the economy goes, of course. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm that guy that if I just like getting out, if I can get a full day of just fishing, like that's even here in Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, any day on the water. I don't necessarily have to have like a destination dream to go anywhere. It's just having a day to go, like the adventure of it all. Every time it's just a high, so I'm not like a bucket list or I have to go do this or this is my dream place. I just want to get out more. So I'd say that's my dream, is just getting out more.
I love that too, because that's where I've gotten. And it's just like I went from like a couple years ago, I pushed in just over right around 350 days on the water in a year.
Ooh.
And
I haven't done that in a few years.
Yeah, and now it's like, holy crap! I just want it like you said earlier, like a couple hours would be awesome, just to be able to break away and just like grab your gear and just leave and stuff. So hopefully it's gonna get there at the end of this month. But man, I miss it.
You just gotta do what I do, man. You gotta have go bags in every car. So
there you go.
Yeah, and my rig's set up right now to do that, and I'm just like in this last month, like everything's in there, like rods, everything, and I'm just like I'm gonna stop wherever I go, and it's just, and that's the goal.
One of these days I need to show my, that work van. Have you seen that? Like It's a P30. That's what I drive 70 hours a week. So inside of there, I actually have like 4 rod holders. I've got a whole shelf not dedicated to product to sell, but for fishing.
You should do a work van tour.
What I should do is reach out to some of these rod companies and say, hey man, Rod Vault or somebody, and say, let's put it on the top. That'd be epic to see a P30 van with like freaking 8 rods on the top of it.
That would be
sweet. Dude, that's what you need to get a hold of freaking Josh over at Truxel and tell him like, hey, I need this mounted on my van. Let's get this thing going.
So funny story, that's pretty much the only days I get to fish now is when I drive on Wednesdays or Thursdays, a certain route. I drive past 28 miles of river. I pass 6 reservoirs. And so that's the day I dedicate. I'll wake up at 3, go load truck, and then fish before work. But I realized it's actually really bad because there's no such thing as a secret spot when you have Svensson written in 3 foot by 20 foot. And it's a freaking 33-foot van parked on the side of the road. Everybody pretty much knows where I fish.
So that brings another question I was going to bring up. What's life like now? Because whether you like it or not, man, the past 3 years, I've loved following your journey, but holy smokes, dude, you exploded. I mean, in all aspects.
It's just smoke and mirrors, man. There's a few times that I've had some pretty unique experiences. Like I was in my Svensson van filling up at a gas station somewhere, a small town, like I think like an hour and a half away. And I was filling up and I was just like answering an email on filling up that, awesome 40-gallon tank right now where gas is outrageous. And I'm sitting there just, because it takes 5 minutes. I'm responding to a work email and all of a sudden like this car just like rips out of the gas station. And I'm like, huh. And then he like slammed on his brakes, flipped it in reverse and screeched and comes back, rolls down his window. And I'm looking at him now and he goes, are you Svend Diesel? And I said, yeah. He's like, love your stuff, man. And then like tore up and went and left off. And I'm like, who are you? I'm like, nice to meet you. Send me a message. Like, I'd love to say hi.
Hey, you want a sticker before you leave?
Yeah.
But, another cool thing was this guy reached out to me. He works in the RV trailers, and he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I want a fly to hang from my rear view mirror in my work truck. I go, that's kind of weird. And he's like, it's got to be like beast mode, like dark as night. You know, I want like a sex dungeon, but make it like 12 inches. And I'm like, okay, like whatever you want. He's like, it's got to be black and orange. I'm like, okay, yeah. And like, I ended up just doing it, having fun, sent it to him. Like 4 months ago, I'm driving and this guy's like honking, and I'm like, oh great, who did I cut off? Expecting some guy to come up, and like usually they go to say something and then they see me and then they stop. And this guy like, hey, and he grabs this fly off his dash. He's like, I still got it, man. And I'm like, oh hey,
Same guy.
That's kind of cool.
Hilarious.
Dude, that is
And
awesome.
so we were driving on State Street, an hour from our warehouse, and ran into him up there. So that was kind of cool.
That is awesome.
So there's been some fun things over the years.
So it's got to be pretty interesting. You're kind of at that stage where, like that, people are going to recognize you. And obviously, you have a billboard rolling around majority of the days. So.
Yeah, just make purchases through Sensen Automotive website. There you go. Let's satisfy all your shop supply needs.
Heck yeah,
There you go.
holy smokes!
That's what pays for all the fly fishing. So
Yep. So we'll make sure to. Honestly, we really will. We will have this down in the description of. So. If
oh no, I'm just messing. Don't. So we're actually busier than we can handle. Right
we
now.
want to overrun him and
like, I made a
order
mistake, I made a
everything
mistake.
from him.
Give it to me.
So cool.
Let's blow him out of the water.
So I'm a little nervous to hear this story, but
Well,
all right. So what's your most embarrassing moment on the water?
You mean besides having a carp break my net and swim off with my net?
Yeah, can you top that?
that was pretty damn funny. But how about-
Most embarrassing. So let's see, because I'm always embarrassed. I don't know, man. There was a time that we were out of cell service, and I was fishing with a guy, and I was on my paddleboard. I ended up throwing all I had was a 4-weight on me, and I was trying to throw like a 8-inch streamer with it, and it was just like freaking slingshotting it.
Yep.
And because the dry fly just wasn't happening, and we're up at a high mountain lake, and for some reason when the fly landed, a trout came up and like tried to hit it like a grasshopper, and so I hurried and tried to do like a trout set, and the fly ended up like slingshotting back and hooking me in the shin.
Ooh.
And this was an Arex, really good. I think it was a trailer hook. And so I'm sitting there with it in like that muscle on the front of your shin.
oh, ouch.
And so finally I'm like, I grabbed my, forceps, latched onto it, and I'm trying to push it through, but I can't push it through that meat and that thick skin. And so then I'm trying to come back out the other way, and it's not happening. And I know people are going to say fish barbless, and I'm like, well, but I ended up sitting there struggling for like minutes. And then I realized that my buddy that I was fishing with is sitting right there 4 feet away, just filming me. And I look over at him, and I'm like, dude, what the heck, man? And then I go, hey, do you know how to do that loop and hoop, around the hook and then yank it out? And he goes, oh yeah, you like wrap it around and then do that. And I go, yeah, that's what I thought it was. And I was trying to do it, but I'm doing it wrong. He's like, oh, you got to push it down. And so we both had never done it, but we've seen it done.
Yep.
So then we sat there for probably a half hour trying to yank it out, and he's doing it now. And it was just a freaking nightmare because all these people are going by like, what's going on? Like on their kayaks and paddle boards, and there's two dudes like over here like yanking on his shin, and there's blood everywhere. And finally I just said screw it, and ended up just freaking yanking it out. Took about 12 tries. And when we got home, we ended up watching that video over and over again on how to do it correctly.
Yes.
But it's one of those things, like until you do it, you don't remember how to do it.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And so then I went home and put a hook in my forearm and then practiced several times.
It's all about
And
getting
well,
that
just
right
wanna-
angle.
It was just one of those embarrassing moments that people are like walking by, like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. Like, it was just one of those weird things. And the more awkward thing is the saved video that my friend has and sends to me occasionally of me like swearing, because it definitely hurt. Like, I've gotten him in the back, the shoulder, the arm, but I think the shin was, and everyone's like, how did you hook it in your shin?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you got to realize I was on a paddleboard above the water and using the wrong rod with the wrong fly and probably the wrong length of leader. But hey, I was trying to get, a take.
Yep.
It worked.
So I don't know if that's the most embarrassing, but probably not one of my proudest moments.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
But hey, I could launch that streamer with that little 4-weight Sage Mon, man. That thing just would freaking fly. That was a chuck and duck day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
I know the feeling, man. I've been there with the 4-weight, and it's all you got. And streamers are on the menu, so it is what it is.
So much nicer with like an 8-weight, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You really appreciate bringing multiple rods.
Yes.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool, dude. So what's the future, Sven, man? You got anything that you want to talk about that's coming up here in the future besides your fly contest that you have going on right now?
The fly contest is going.
Is that a new thing? Like, this is your first year, or do you do it every year?
So I don't commit to so we've done a turkey one, we've done a spooky streamer one, we did a dry fly one. What else have I done? I did a Svend fly. That was the first one where it was tie up the craziest fly you could think of. And that's what kind of started it all.
Yeah, that was some good entries on that one.
Yeah. What was one too? Where it was like you had to use like all non-tying materials. I remember like tying like a Q-tip to a hook or something.
Yeah, we had to do one that was only stuff from your scrap bin.
Yeah.
And then we did one that was, this one wasn't a big one. It was, you had to do everything from the dollar store. You couldn't use anything besides hook and thread because, that was stuff you have. So the contests are not like set in stone just because of my schedule, what I have going on. To be honest, I didn't want to do another one ever again, but this was something that someone reached out to me and said, hey, are you interested in doing another contest? I said, not really. And he said, well, think about it. Because it's a
lot of work.
The amount of stupid people on the back end that just make it not fun. Just really, I'm not that guy that's just gonna be like, oh, hey, thank you for your input. I'm like, no, screw you, quit being a dick.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, don't comment, don't participate. Like, I don't even, like, why are you even following me? Just like, just you missed the whole fun aspect of this.
Yep.
So if you missed that, just freaking keep being a keyboard warrior. And it's kind of made me kind of bitter about doing them, but I try to take all the heat on me so that any companies affiliated with it don't get affected by it as well. But they're a lot of fun. It's been kind of blowing up today. Messages. There's some really good flies, and that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Whether I'm going to keep doing them just depends on if companies want to do it or participate with it. If it's beneficial for them, I don't know if it is. Because usually I don't have like required follows or do this or do that. But this time, Semperfly and Spawn Flyfish, they've just been such awesome people over the years. I said, hey, even though you want to kick in some stuff, I'm just going to require a follow for the first time because you guys are awesome. And I think that if people aren't following them, they should be. And I'm pretty honest about, good companies. And I think we should support them rather than the corporate world that I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, you've been, I can say, a part of the original Spawn following. The three of us have been by Josh's side.
That's right.
The start and
those Gen 1 heads. Those Gen 1s,
I still have some.
I still got a tub of them because I kept buying them from Josh to support them.
Dude, me too.
Yep.
I'm like, you can't even. Yep.
Yeah, you can't, like, how do you get these on these big hooks? So you got to drum them out. I'm like, oh, I sure do like these Gen 2s.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yes, yep.
Dude, they're great guys.
Yeah, I'm so proud of them. And Simplify, it's great, another great company. I get stuff from them. I totally agree, and that's what I love about you. It's like you're like the rest of us, the blue collar guys. You don't push out stuff whether if like you don't like it, you don't support it, or you don't use it. You just you're pushing stuff that you're using. You're not doing it just because they shipped you something for free. And
So,
like that.
so
And
like for
you have an
example,
honest
I
opinion.
am on Semperfli's Pro Team. Disclaimer, but I used their product for 2 years before that ever happened.
Yeah.
Like I was addicted to their product beforehand. What really frustrates me with this whole, I was actually just talking to my wife about it today. You know, it's almost like everyone just thinks like the fly fishing world is going to pay for them to fish 24/7. But in all reality, these are small guys, small businesses that are trying to provide for anywhere from 4 to 21 families, you know, that work for them.
Yep.
And by the messages of people not wanting to support them with actual orders, I think is a negative thing. Instead, we should be supporting them so they can continue to innovate and do that. Granted, Svend Flies has now allowed me to sell flies and 3D printing stuff so that I can purchase fly tying materials easier, because that's what I use. But you know, it's all about supporting these people that are going to be, you know, that are pushing the boundaries, innovating the fly tying industry. I mean, look at where resin's come in the last 3 years.
Oh, it's amazing. I'm so glad they
and
dropping
you still got people that are anti-resin, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like, you know, Rapala's what 15, 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, when everybody started, and that's the downfall. Is you see a lot of these guys like yourself and like Ryan and these tires that are coming in and trying new things, trying different things, and sometimes you start off as a joke and you look at it like, holy crap, this actually might work. I mean, because you tied flies with flip flops.
Yeah.
I remember when you were doing that.
And, oh yeah.
And
that was more things. Brand awareness for the picking up your trash.
Yeah.
But they work.
They worked.
Like, it's recycling.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, why go to freaking Dollar Tree and buy foam when I can just go buy $1 freaking flip flop,
or you can find one on the river,
or find one on the river, and it's free fly tie material. It's like, heck yeah,
exactly.
But to circle back, there's, you know, a lot of companies that reach out and they just want to like send you product and put you on a pro team, and like you've never even used their product.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't even know what they're like as a company. You don't know anything about them, or and I'm the first one to say like, hey, like I'm happy to try stuff out. Like send me an invoice, I'll pay for it, because I don't want any obligation to be affiliated with you until I try it.
Yeah.
Very cool. And some people are like, whoa, wait, really? And then I watch like people on social media that are just jumping onto these, you know, brands that have never even used it.
Yep. And I think that's so common. Everybody wants to be on a team, and I'll be the first to admit, when I first came out, I was like, holy crap, yeah, I'd love to be on a team. And I didn't understand the concept behind it. So there's like 4 teams I was on, and it's like, it's hard to get on, like, kind of like Ryan said earlier, he was like, ambassadors kind of is such a loose term nowadays. It's just, there's no meaning behind it. And I think the companies are seeing that too, because it seems like whenever you get on a company's ambassador team, they send you an email every 6 months, and that's all you hear from them. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's just
there's no team to it.
Yeah.
It's just
and that's
free
why I've
really, you know what I mean?
That's why I haven't cut ties, but that's why I've really dropped a lot of the teams that I've been on, because if I want to be part of a team, if I'm supporting in one, like yourself, I'm not going to support a team if I've never used their product. I can't give them an honest opinion. And I can't give them an honest opinion if they send me stuff for free, because then, like you said, you feel obligated to be like, oh, I have to stay good. And so I think that I love that about you, is if you're giving an honest opinion, I can look at that and be like, okay, he really is. This is his honest opinion about it because he's not necessarily just getting handed and being paid to say this. And so, and I appreciated that about you because there's too many people out there now writing the system. All they want is their, hey, I want my free shit, and I'm just gonna not ever say anything again and stuff. So there's definitely too.
But there are huge advantages to the ambassador pro team deals with companies, and that's something that having a social media presence does help, because it's like when Semperfly reached out and said, hey, you want to be on our pro team? Like, here's the deal. So basically I get a discount on stuff I'm already buying. Okay. Like, that's a no-brainer.
That part is nice.
But that allows me to, I was talking to someone the other day. It's like, well, instead of spending $50 on thread, I'm able to get X amount more,
Yep.
And that, or instead of buying X amount of thread, I'm able to get other materials to try. And so that's been, I love new materials. I love tools. I think that's pretty evident.
Yep.
I just ordered a new vise, and Josh laughed at me. He's like, you're the last person that needs to buy another vise.
How many vices you got now?
we don't talk about that.
Yeah, right.
One hand or two? How many fingers does it take?
Did you upgrade to the new blacked out loom?
Blacked out loom?
Yeah.
No.
I heard their tools went all black now.
Oh, you're talking about the blacked out loom tools,
Yeah, so they have a blacked out loom. Yeah, so
because that's my next purchase, is I want to get all the blacked out ones.
Yeah, so I'm just not a big loom fan of their product, so I don't really use a lot of it.
The only thing I don't like about is the what the hell is what we got, Ryan, that squeaks all the damn time?
The bobbin?
The bobbin. Yep, you knew exactly what I was talking. That thing, you can put straight up 90 weight on that thing and it's still gonna squeak.
So their Gen 2, their new one, they changed the balls on the arm, which is better. It's more like the Raid Zap. It's got points on it. It doesn't squeak near as bad. However, as much as that bobbin squeaks, there's not a bobbin that feels stronger when spinning deer hair. When the time comes up, bring it to me. Like when you're cranking down with that metal freaking tube, it feels solid, like you're not going to break the bobbin, whereas other bobbins. And so I pretty much have a set of those loon bobbins dedicated to my 3/0 GSP or Nano Silk.
What's your go-to bobbin? People that don't follow, because you've had some technique, like killer bobbins. Yeah.
Oh wow.
See, you're always. That's what I love following about you. If there's an you're like me. If there's an oddball bobbin out there, you're gonna buy it.
So this was JBL Jerkbait Mania, a guy in the UK. He was using this one time, and I go, what is that? What bobbin is it? And he goes, it's a J-Vice bobbin out of South Africa. And I got on his website, and it's like, download this Excel file, and I'm like, dude, this looks like a scam. But I messaged him, and I go, hey, dude, like, what's the deal? And he's like, the guy said he's legit, and so I did it, and then it like sends you a PayPal link, and I'm like, am I going to get like married to some African prince or something? And then it's like, we accept Bitcoin, and I'm like, what the freak is this? But then the bobbins showed up, and I'm like, sweet. It's unique. It's not the cheapest. They're probably mid-range. If you're going for best bang for your buck, the right bobbins definitely are my favorite.
Yeah, those are nice.
That's what I'm running.
Yeah,
I'm a guy that likes the tension, where it sets and stays. I've tried. If you're using a Norvise system, you got to use the automatic bobbin.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're not utilizing the system. I've got CNFs are great. They're just spendy. I've tried the what is it? The $100 automatic bobbin, Ictric or Irict, and that one.
Oh, yep.
I'd get the Norvise over that one. Some will argue differently, but you have to constantly release the tension on it.
Oh, I can see that getting annoying fast.
There's a whole bunch of just regular standard arm bobbins. The thing I just like about this one, and why I'm always tying with them now, is the angle, it just sits right in my hand. And that's the number one thing is try different brands because everyone's got different hands. But as I'm coming around, I don't ever hit the hook point when I'm using this, when I'm really cranking out a bunch of flies. And I think it's the angle on it that allows me to do that. But it's a great bobbin, and he's a great guy. So
heck yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I'm always down to try new tools and not afraid to, go out of my comfort zone. So
awesome. That's what you got to do in the fly tying world, man. Cool. Well, Svend, thanks a ton, man, for coming on here. We appreciate the great conversation, and I just want to open the floor up to you, man. If there's any comments or anything, any advice you want to give anyone or anything at all, man, the floor is yours before we close out.
Just fish more. I mean, if you forgot that feel, if you think that that tug is no longer an adrenaline rush, then find out how to do it because fly fishing is an adventure. I mean, every time it's like getting out is just like a freaking awesome day, and it's a de-stress from life. So enjoy every minute you can. My door is always open if I can ever help anyone out. I think that's pretty evident. If you got a question, if I can help you out, or a question about tools, bobbins, whatever, send me a message. I usually respond pretty quick.
Awesome. Thank you, man. So this has been Svend Diesel on Set You Free Outdoors podcast. Thank you for listening.
Record.